All right, guys, so this video is going to be over a little bit of factoring review. So this is the last unit where we learned how to factor different kind of polynomials. So we're going to review some of those today because we're going to need to use factoring tomorrow or next week. So the first review of factoring that we're going to do is we're going to practice factoring out of GCF. So remember, the GCF is the greatest common factor. So we want to look at each term and we want to find the GCF of each term, and we're going to divide out that GCF. So if we start by looking at the 12 and the 8, we have specifically 4 that can go into both of those. So the GCF of 12 and 8 is 4. Then we want to look at the a to the 4th and the a. Remember, you always pick the smaller exponent, so we know that a can go into both of these. And then we've got b and b squared. So again, smaller exponent is just the b. So our GCF is that 4AB. So we want to take that out, 4AB. And then in parentheses is what we divide out. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. A to the 4th over A is A to the 3rd. The B's cancel. Plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. Again, the a's over each other, those two a's cancel, and b squared over b is just a b. So that would be our final answer here. So the GCF is out front, and then what's left when you divide it is inside the parentheses. So that's specifically factoring out a GCF. The next one that we're going to review is factoring a trinomial when a is not 1. So trinomial means 3 terms. And this is a quadratic because the highest degree is 2. So if we remember for these problems, we start by taking specifically a times c. And our a times c is 6 times 7, which is 42. And then we want to get all the factors of this 42. So the factors of 42 that add up specifically to 17. Right, so we need the factors of 42 that give us a positive 17. So our factors are all going to be positive. So we've got 1 and 42, that's not 17. 2 and 24, that's not 17. 3 and 14, there's our answer. So we rewrite our equation as 6d squared, and instead of 17d, we do plus 3d plus 14d from our factors here. And then we still have that plus 7. From here, we want to factor by grouping. So we group up the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms, and you take out the GCF. So the GCF of these first 2 terms is a 3d. And the GCF of the second 2 terms is 7. So you take out the 3d, left inside is a 2d plus 1. Take out the plus 7, and again, left inside is a 2d plus 1. You know if you did it correctly, you have the same thing inside your parentheses here. So then your 2 answers are this 7d here. So, or sorry, not 7d, this 3d plus 7. And the 2d plus 1, what's inside. So those are your 2 answers. Okay, so that's factoring a trinomial when a is not 1. Now we're going to refresh what to do when we have a factoring a trinomial when a is 1. So something like y squared minus 12y plus 32. So remember, when a is 1, you can use the shortcut where you just need to find the factors of 32 that add up to your negative 12 here. So our factors of 32, we've got a problem where we have a positive 32, but we need the negative 12. So our factors are both going to have to be negative because a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative plus a negative is a negative for the negative 12. So we've got negative 1, negative 32, that's not negative 12, negative 2, negative 16, that's not negative 12, Got -4 and -8. There we are. Those are -12. So our two factors are the y. So we take that y, put that in front, and then the -4 and the -8. And there's our answer. So that's how we do problems where a does equal 1. Okay, the last problem that we have to look at is specifically special cases. So here's our next problem that we're going to look at. Again, it is a special case. So special cases usually have two terms, and there's a subtraction in between them. Now, this is where we're going to pull a little bit of factoring completely in as well. When you have a specific polynomial that you're trying to factor, you should always start by looking for a GCF. And if you look at this problem, we don't have perfect squares yet, so we can't use our special case with perfect squares. But hopefully you can see that we can factor out a 2. And remember, when you pull out the GCF, it stays out front. So we have that 2 that stays out front. And then inside, our parentheses are going to be 50 divided by 2, which is 25x squared. And then 128 divided by 2, which is 64. Now, if you notice inside the parentheses, we have a difference of squares, or a special case. So what we do, we keep the 2 out front. And remember, you need to find the square root of each of these. So if you look at the 25x squared, that, if you take the square root of that, you get 5 in x. And then you look at the 64, and the square root of that is 8. So your two terms inside your parentheses are the 5x and the 8. And then one's positive, one's negative. And there's your answer. So again, this was just a refresher over different forms of factoring, because we will be factoring more tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, sorry, next week. So make sure you remember this. If you need to look over your past notes, go for it. But you do have to be able to factor come next week. So hopefully this is a good refresher. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.